Hormones. What sorts of changes can we actually expect as trans women when we go on hormone therapy? What are some of the things that hormones unfortunately won't change? Today I'm going to talk about all that in addition to all the experiences I've had now that I've just hit 5 years on hormone therapy. So we'll start with one of those big things that gave me a lot of dysphoria and still does, and unfortunately, hormones will not change your voice. You may have seen videos about people talking about how the hormone therapy changed their voice over time, but it was more than likely not due to hormones, but due to voice training. Hormones don't impact this because somebody who had a quote-unquote male puberty originally, the testosterone changes the structure of the vocal cords and deepens the voice, deepens the resonance, and estrogen does not reverse that effect. So you have to manually train your voice, and if that's not enough, vocal cord surgery is also an option. But now let's talk about some of the positive things. One of the things that I noticed really quickly is a softening of the skin, which I probably noticed within the first 2 to 3 months. Skin starts getting more softer, and over time from that 3 to 6 month period, we'll start having a redistribution of body fat. Like my face started getting a little rounder, started having more fat on my hips, my butt, my breasts, my thighs. Just kind of my fat has been shifting into areas that are more traditionally feminine. And with that, there's also a decrease in muscle mass. Some people might be disappointed, but I was not, because that just helped feminize my frame more. But it was something that I really started noticing probably about 6 months on hormones, where say like picking up this desk here would have been super easy before, and now it's a struggle to do it by myself. I almost need that extra help. And kind of with that changing in like body composition, one kind of strange thing that I did not expect was that my foot size changed. It shrunk. To put in perspective, I was originally wearing size 12 men's shoes, and now I wear size 12 women's shoes, which is considerably smaller than size 12 men's. And I've heard many other trans women who've had the same experience where they notice their foot size has shrunk a little bit. Once you start getting to that 1 or 2, 3 years on hormone therapy, it's kind of a slow, gradual process. So it was kind of a nice surprise when I was like, ah shit, I'm a size 12 in men's shoes. That means what? I'm like a size fucking 14? Nope, size 12, thankfully. See where the hormones take you. Your foot size may end up a little bit smaller than what you expected. And with more changes in body composition, let's also talk about body hair. And yes, I do have hair on my arms, even though you cannot really see it. Maybe if I put my arm in the frame, that would help. You'll probably start noticing within the first 3 months, slightly slower hair growth. Your hair might be a little bit finer, you might have a little less hair, and within that 6 to 12 month mark, you might see like more patchiness in your hair, just less hair in areas, and again, it'll likely be thinner and grow more slowly. It really just depends on a unique array of factors and how it will individually impact each of us. So take in mind, how much hair do you have starting? How thick is it? How fine is it? How dark is it? How light is it? Are there certain areas where you do or don't have hair? Keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I did not see much impacts on my facial hair. It may have gotten a little bit finer, but it really did not change to any noticeable extent. I still had about 3 years of laser, about a year or so of electrolysis, and I still grow some hair, as if you saw that previous video where I still do shave, but I don't really grow much anymore. So in all likelihood, if you do grow even a little bit of facial hair, you will probably need some sort of hair removal if you do want to get rid of that. And kind of related to hair removal, I did notice over time I became a little more sensitive to the pain of getting that laser hair removal or getting that electrolysis, which I assume may be due to the change of hormones in my body. So I've talked a lot about physical changes. The mental changes I think are really important to mention as well. You will start having mental changes within probably the first 3 months, definitely within the first 6 months. It's hard to describe, but my way of thinking and kind of viewing myself in the world did shift a little bit. Hard to think about how my thought process changed because my thought process changed. But I kind of just describe it as like I felt like my mind and body were getting more in sync. Even though my body hadn't physically changed much, it just felt like the internal chemistry, the hormones were kind of just getting to where they needed to be, and I mentally felt more at peace. And thankfully, that was one of the earliest changes I noticed. And I think that mental well-being is such a huge impact when it comes to help reducing any sorts of dysphoria that we may be experiencing. You know, maybe you've been on hormones for a few years, you've seen all the changes you've wanted, maybe you've also had sex reassignment surgery, bottom surgery, and maybe you're thinking about going off of hormones, like, I don't need them anymore. Not true. Hopefully none of you are thinking that. Getting rid of those hormones can cause things like early onset menopause, osteoporosis, or any other severe decreases in bone density, all bad stuff that we don't want. And putting your hormones in kind of a tizzy is just really bad for your body in general. So stay on that hormone therapy, especially if you've had bottom surgery, had an orchiectomy, gotten rid of the, male gonads, so to speak. You won't really have much testosterone naturally producing in your body, so you really need that estrogen there. Otherwise, you're kind of just living without hormones for the most part, which would not be a really great experience for your body. And speaking of testosterone, you may hear some people saying, like, get that testosterone level as close to zero as possible. Don't follow that advice. Yes, you do want to get your testosterone level low, but getting it to zero should not be your goal. Because if you look at the ranges that your average cisgender woman has, it's typically somewhere between like 15 and 50. I forget the exact units, but whatever shows up on your blood test normally. So yes, you want to reduce your testosterone levels, but if you're in a range of like 15 to 50, maybe even 15 to 100, you're probably doing pretty good. Because you need some of that testosterone to help regulate some bodily functions, so you don't want to go all the way down to zero if you can help it. We can't really change how the hormones impact us, but that's where our doctor comes into play, who can help adjust dosing as needed to try our best to target a range. And as always, consult with your doctor, consult with your endocrinologist, your primary care, or whoever else is prescribing your hormones, and also prescribing blood tests for you to monitor this over time. Monitoring those levels is especially important over the first 12 to 24 months, just to make sure that everything is going according to plan, so to speak. So kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about was progesterone. With cisgender women during puberty, progesterone can help with breast growth and development, so the idea is introducing this for transgender women during the early stages of their hormone therapy, which is kind of like a second puberty, can also help with breast growth and development, but the actual effects are all over the place in terms of whether or not it really works. Personally, I started it about 8 to 12 months after I started hormones. My doctor was kind of just like, well, the side effects aren't that bad, so you could try it out if you wanted. He kind of just brought it up and suggested it, and it was up to me. And I was like, sure, why the hell not? And I stayed on it for about 2 years, stopped after I had my breast augmentation because I felt I didn't really need it anymore. But it is really hard to say whether or not it made much of a difference because, I was also on standard hormone therapy on top of that. So it's like, what made the most changes? Who really knows? But the side effects are likely minimal. So it's up to you if you want to take it. But again, consult with your doctor based on your own unique health situation. Me, I took and still take, 4 milligrams a day of oral estradiol. I took 100 milligrams of Spiro for a good bit, bumped it up to 200 to decrease my T levels more. And then I started taking it a little bit back at 100 after I had SRS because that's what my doctor recommended. I think maybe just to regulate and control any residual testosterone that may be floating around after surgery. I don't know. And like I said, I was on progesterone for about 2 years. I did do a little bit of finasteride for a little while because that can help with hair growth as well. But again, ask your doctor to confirm things like dosing and which medications to take, because it varies depending on your unique health situation. What may work for me may not work for you. It's just about finding what works for you based on your unique bodily chemistry. Yeah, so all in all, 5 years on hormones, things have been great. I am still in a very good place mentally and physically. The hormones really do help with those physical changes and those mental changes. So I know that was a lot, but let me know your reactions down in the comments below. What are some things that you can relate to? What are some things that may have been different for you? That being said, thank you so much for watching. Tipsy and I love you all. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up and a subscribe if you have not done so already. Bye for now.